Welcome to Isnt's webinar, Make the Most of Your Income. Isnt is a national nonprofit whose mission is to help people improve their financial well-being through counseling, community outreach, and financial education. As part of our mission, Isnt feels very strongly that getting and staying on track with your money is essential to one's success. So we have developed a 7-part educational series that includes workshops and webinars to help individuals better prepare their financial lives. Today's presentation falls under Establishing a Money Management Plan. I'd like to introduce Sarah Gant, who will be our facilitator today.
Good morning. Thank you, Jana. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us today. We will be covering money personalities, the elements of a spending plan, savings tips, and what to do when things don't balance. What words come to mind when I say the word budget? The answer I normally get are they're restrictive and controlling. That's why we call this a spending plan. It is a process that you build on. I will be covering a lot of information today. I want to ask you as we go through the information to write down at least 4 things that you can implement today. Here is a fun exercise that will help you begin to determine your money personality. Pick the shape you think that best describes your money personality. There are no right or wrong answers, and you can change your mind after you learn what they mean. You're welcome to put what you think your shape is in the comment or question box. This activity is not meant to label anyone, and you may find that you are a combination of styles. The point is that in order to have a financially fit lifestyle, you have to look deeper at your money values and personality. Your personality was formed early in childhood through experiences and observations. You are then influenced by societal pressures and media advertising. Understanding the factors that influence your views regarding money management or money can help you determine which of your spending habits are healthy and what triggers you to buy on impulse. It is important to know also the money personality of your partner so that you can work together as a team to achieve your family's financial goals. Interestingly, many marriages are made up of a squiggly and a rectangle. Looks like we have one person that commented they think that they are the squiggly shape. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing. All right, now let's see if the shape you chose for yourself was right. The rectangles. You guys seem to have it all together. You keep good financial records. You set financial goals and you have a plan. You are the people who can put everything on a credit card and pay it off at the end of the month just to reap the rewards that the credit card companies offer. You are what most people aspire to be. You stay focused and you continue to adjust your goals and prioritize your expenses. The circles. You guys are the lovers, the givers. Some might even say the suckers. You are the person that people go to if they are short on cash, or their kid is collecting money for their soccer team, or worse, your child is in financial distress, and you are helping them out, quote unquote. First, there's nothing wrong with giving, but know your limits. Have a plan on how much you can afford to give weekly, monthly, and yearly. If need be, you may need to cut down on your other expenses so you can fulfill your giving obligations. Sometimes it is hard to say no, but a good response might be, I'm getting my finances together and I just don't have it within my budget to give right now. Also remember, if you are continually giving to another person financial support, ask yourself, are you really helping them or are you enabling them, that other person, not to make better financial decisions for themselves? The squiggly lines. You tend to be very outgoing, typically unorganized, friendly, and an impulse shopper. You love a good deal. Going to stores can be dangerous for you because there are a million things that you must have, even though you didn't need them before you went into the store. But there is hope. First off, get rid of your debit and credit cards. Carry cash or have a preloaded debit card. Then have a dollar amount allocated within your financial plan that you spend on groceries, entertainment, clothes, hobbies, etc. If you walk into a store with a limited amount of cash, you cannot spend more than what you have. Finally, if you make an impulse purchase, when you get home, don't put it away in a closet or a drawer. That way you won't forget about it and will have a chance to determine whether you really needed it or just wanted it. If you then decide it didn't hold the same appeal that it had in the store, just return the item. The triangles. You have the ready, aim, fire personality. You're the risk takers. You love the chance of the big payoff. You might invest in the stock market or go to the casinos to win your fortune. And at times there's nothing wrong with doing that, but focus on how much you can afford to lose, not on how much you might win. This needs to be planned for within your budget after all your other primary expenses are met. The squares. You are the people who really want to budget. You make a plan to start and have great intentions, but then something happens and you have to wait until the next week or month or year to start again. It's like a diet. If you're not on it, you're off it. You need to stop budgeting and start thinking of it as a financial plan. When you make mistakes, don't give up. This is not all or nothing. Gather your resources, set your financial goals, and create a plan to get where you want to go.
I can tell you, Sarah, I am a squiggly by nature, and it is really difficult sometimes for me to make sure that I stay on track with my money. So you were right on when you said you need to carry cash or a preloaded card. It will allow you to not overspend or not impulsive spend. So squigglies out there, there is hope for you.
Exactly. I'm actually a combination of the two. I have great intentions. I do good planning, but in other times I do great intentions and I'm not able to follow suit. So this is a continual process. I always have to go back to this myself. Thank you for sharing, Jana. I appreciate that. If any of you would like to share now what your money personality shape was, you're encouraged to share that information with us also. Again, we're all different, so it would be fun to see the various types of personality types attending today's webinar.
Interestingly enough also, Sarah, is what I found in a lot of relationships, you have opposites, like the opposite attracts. So for example, in my relationship, I'm a squiggly. However, he is a rectangle. So he keeps me balanced. So within your relationship, you need to know what your partner's money personality is so that you can set up those conditions to help you be successful.
I couldn't agree more. Where one person lacks, the other one has the strength, and you hold each other lovingly accountable. I agree. It's definitely teamwork. It's a joint effort. All right. For those of you who did share, thank you. I appreciate it. Now, let's talk about your personal spending plan. A good way to start taking control of your financial situation is to develop a savings and spending plan. Taking control of your financial situation helps you reduce the anxiety of not knowing whether you have enough money to pay your bills when they are due. It gives you a sense of control over your money rather than letting money have control over you. Having a spending plan will also help you build assets, plan for a house or a car. Building assets improves the quality of life for you and your family. Budgeting is about choices, choosing how to use your money. Knowing what your income and expenses are every month will help you take control of your financial situation. Money management tools. It is important to establish a routine when you are working with your spending plan. Find a worksheet, computer program, or app for your phone that will work for you. Many programs have features that will allow you to transfer information from your bank account directly to your spreadsheet or program. We have some great financial tools on our website, such as the ones I will use today in this webinar. You can access them by visiting our website at Isnt.com. At the bottom of the page under Tools, you can click on Budgeting, Planning, and Saving. If possible, sit down the same day and time every week to review the previous week's successes or challenges with your money management. This will also give you the opportunity to look ahead to the next week and create a plan. All family members should be involved in creating and enforcing a realistic spending plan. That is the only way to ensure that your financial goals are going to be met. Here's an example. If you want to go on vacation, do some research. Find out how much money you will need for the vacation. Divide that amount by the months from now until your vacation. This is what you will need to save monthly. To achieve this, you may need to cut out other expenses each month. So sit down with your family, explain to them that you have this great vacation that you would like all of you to go on, but it will mean not eating out as much, or not going to see the next great movie playing at the cinema, or maybe practical things like canceling extra stuff such as cable but keeping internet. This will help create a support group versus resistance when you have to say no to some of the things that they may want. Just out of curiosity, when do you normally sit down and pay your bills or plan your expenses? I'd really like for you to share with the rest of us. Some people do it first thing in the morning, others on lunch, some don't get the chance until right before bed. So when do you normally sit down and update your checking register or pay your bills? I encourage you to share your information or your routine with us now, if you want, in the comment or question box. Did you know, actually, that your memory retention is at its worst an hour after you eat? So keep this in mind if you're planning to change your routine or create a new one. Looks like we have a comment here. Someone said at work during my day. A lot of people do it at lunch. I myself do it on my lunch before I eat. That way I don't get tired later when I'm trying to do the planning. But honestly, once you guys create a routine to this, it really does not take that long. You may spend, five minutes a day, and then once a week when you sit down, it won't take near as long if you've been updating it or looking at it continuously. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. All right. There are other types of budgeting tools you can use at home also, such as the expense envelope system. This tool is useful if you pay your bills with cash each month. Make an envelope for each expense category, like rent, utilities, food, etc. Label the envelope with the purpose, amount, and date due. When you receive income, divide it into amounts to cover the expenses listed on the envelopes. Pay bills right away so you won't be tempted to spend the money for something else. There's also the budget box system. The budget box is a small box with dividers for each day of the month, like a filing system. When you receive bills, check the due date and place it behind the card that represents the due date. Remember, if you are mailing bills, though, you'll want to mail it at least 7 to 10 days before the due date. That way it's not late. And as you receive income, pay all the bills that are due. There's also the computer system. If you have access to personal computers, you can create your own spreadsheets. Excel spreadsheets are great for this. You may also want to purchase a personal finance program. They're available for a reasonable price. Using a computer to manage your finances is relatively easy. Once you set up the system, updating the information is quick and easy. It is important to enter transactions frequently to truly understand your financial position. Again, having a set place and time each week will help you. Let's discuss the elements of a spending plan. First, think about, where does your income come from? Do you have more than one job? Do you get child support? How much money do you have to work with? Now, we look at expenses. There are 3 types of expenses. First, there are fixed expenses. These expenses are the same amount every month. An example would be mortgage or rent. Food and entertainment should be a fixed expense because these expenses are where most of us lose track of what we're spending. Second, variable expenses. These expenses are those that you know you will spend each month, but can be different amounts on a monthly basis. An example would be your home's electric, water, or gas. The cost is based on usage, and it will fluctuate. Lastly, we have periodic expenses. These expenses are things that you do not have to pay monthly, but at some point you know they'll be due. An example would be auto tags, taxes, or registration, or Christmas gifts and birthday gifts. Before you create your spending plan, it is important to understand needs versus wants. Needs are basic living expenses such as mortgage or rent, basic utilities, and food. Good examples of wants would be cable, internet, cell phone plans, gym membership, entertainment. Although it is necessary to have a phone, a basic landline is still much cheaper than a cell phone plan that includes internet, texting, and data. What are some other examples of needs versus wants? Would you guys like to share any of your comments with us in the chat or comment box? You're welcome to do that now if you would like.
I find, Sarah, that most people treat food and entertainment as a variable expense. You know, that is the two areas of our spending plan that we spend the most on that we don't know. So I strongly encourage everybody to make food and entertainment a fixed expense. You know exactly how much you are have in there for those two line items. And you may have to adjust it after a couple of months when you find that, oh, I didn't put enough away, or I've put too much and now I can use that money someplace else. But food and entertainment need to be a fixed expense.
I completely agree. You're exactly right. This is where most people call it their miscellaneous. They have other expenses or miscellaneous in their budget that's kind of unaccounted for, and these actually do need to have a set allocated amount, or you're not going to stick within your plan. So thank you, Jana. I appreciate that. It looks like we do have a comment here. Someone said insurance, I think, was one. That is a fixed expense. You're correct. Like if you're paying out of pocket for an additional expense, such as life insurance, something like that, that's one of your fixed expenses. Wants versus needs. I'm not sure if your comment there, I can't see all of it. I apologize. Insurance is absolutely a need. If you're talking about car insurance, life insurance is a particular choice, but some employers offer that through your work as well. So if you have multiple policies right now, something you may want to look at is, thank you, Brandy, for saying that, a need. You put on there a need. I appreciate that. But you may want to look at, if you're doing multiple policies also, if you're paying for duplicate coverage, that may be someplace now that you may be paying more than you need to. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Goals are one of the most important parts of your spending plan, so let's talk about that. Why? Because your goals are what will motivate you and keep you motivated excuse me, to continue using your spending plan. There are three different types of goals. The first is the immediate goal, which is something you want to achieve within the next 12 months. An example could be having enough in your savings to cover deductibles for auto or home claim. Having this goal will just ensure your assets are protected. The second is the short-term goal, which is something you want to achieve within the next 1 to 5 years. An example could be saving to buy a car outright versus getting a loan, or having enough for a down payment for buying a house. The third is the long-term goal, which is something you want to achieve that will take longer than 5 years. An example could be creating a pay extra plan to have your student loans paid off within the next 10 years, or have your home paid off within the next 10 to 15 years. Many people only set an immediate goal of meeting expenses as their main focus. In order to be successful in getting what you want or need, you have to establish a plan to get there. Write down your goals and review them regularly, as they might change due to time and circumstances. Think about a person or a company that you know is financially stable and successful. They don't have to be rich, just doing well. Now ask yourself, how do you think they got there? Are they just lucky? They are financially sound because they had a plan and they used it. Now ask yourself, whose job is it to make sure you are financially secure? Is anyone else going to achieve your financial goals for you? I want you to be really honest with yourselves and think about, what are your goals? If you have a Post-it note, I want you to write down at least one short-term goal. I ask that you put it on your debit or check card or in your checkbook where you will see it each time you're about to spend money. This is so that the next time you go to spend money, you'll look at what you really want and might not make that want purchase. Then take that money that you were going to spend and put it away in a separate account. You would have spent the money anyway, so why not save it for your true goal? I'll give you a few seconds if you want to write down your goal before moving on. And of course, you're also welcome to include it in the comment or question box if you'd like to share it with everyone else. Looks like we have a comment here. Someone said pay off credit card debt. Absolutely. That would be a great goal. I just always find it interesting to see what motivates people with their finances. The screen you're seeing now is a Fritter Finder. It is a tool that we use at Isnt to help clients track where they are spending money on a daily basis. It is also available on our website for you to download and print for ongoing use later if you would like. A lot of people find it hard to track that cash they spend almost without thinking about it. It normally isn't your primary bills that blow your budget. It's the miscellaneous expenses that tend to nickel and dime your budget the most, such as what Jana said earlier, entertainment, food. These are things that should be set expenses, but normally they're not, and that's kind of what, especially after the weekends, it will blow our budget if we ate out with the family. That stuff can rack up quickly. A coworker asked her husband to do this for 1 month because he said he always seems to run out of money and didn't understand why. So he did this, and he learned that he stops to get coffee every morning at Starbucks before he goes to work. This was costing him almost $5 a day, which in turn cost him about $100 a month. In an effort of saving time during the webinar, I'll ask you to wait until after the webinar, but I want you to write down everything you have spent money on in the last 48 hours to the penny. You may be surprised to see where your money is going. Another way to track your expenses would be to put a rubber band around your debit card or checkbook. Rubber band all receipts to it when you spend money. When you write the purchase down in your register, also write on the receipt what you actually bought. Then keep the receipts in a box or a drawer so you can review them when you sit down weekly to create and update your spending plan. This will help you understand what to include in your budget if you have missed something important, or help you make better buying choices reviewing your needs versus wants.
It sounds like your coworker was a Starbucksaholic.
Well, their spouse was.
I can tell you when I did this exercise, I had an aha moment that I was a Starbucksaholic also. I would go in, same time, every morning, ordered the same thing, my double tall 2-pump vanilla non-fat, no foam latte. I love checking all the boxes. I don't know why. And it was only like $3.80. I was spending $70 a month just on coffee. And if I had not consciously, wrote it down like this, I would have just said, oh, it's only. How many onlys are you doing? Are you stopping, at fast food? Are you the vending machines?
Oh, exactly.
It is just so simple to just say it's only $1. It's only this much. It adds up so quickly.
Or when you're stopping to get gas and you grab a pop too, or a candy bar. Yes, exactly. It's only 69 cents. It's only $1. It's same as coffee in the morning. I do it as well. So you really have to truly track everything to see where it's going, because like I said, that stuff adds up. $2 here, $3 there, $5, that stuff adds up a lot very quickly at the end of the month. It looks like we have a comment here. Someone said, I find it helpful to use cash instead of debit or credit cards. That helps me curb spending. Yes, everybody is different. You got to find what works for you. We're going to talk more about that in here. Someone commented here, said they like that idea. I don't know if that was the rubber band idea or the writing it down with the Fritter Finder. Again, guys, this Fritter Finder that we've got here, you can print it out where it's small enough to fold it up and put it in your checkbook or your wallet or your billfold or anything like that. You can download that from our website. Again, it's Isnt.com. At the bottom under Tools, you would just click on Budgeting, Spending. I think it's Budgeting, Spending, and Planning is what the link is. So thank you guys for commenting. I appreciate that. There we go. All right, so a spending plan worksheet. This is an example of a monthly spending plan. This worksheet is great for someone who has never created a budget because it asks you questions about expenses you may have forgotten to include into your plan, like medications or dry cleaning. This type of plan is also great for individuals who get paid once a month. For example, if you get Social Security or disability or retirement, this plan will allow you to plan your expenses for the month in advance and pay your bills when you get paid. Just remember to divide out what is left and ration it for the remaining weeks of the month to avoid running out of money before your next paycheck. You might even try the envelope system to help yourself set weekly spending limits for that. You see that it has a Now column and a Revised column. You should first list your expenses in the Now column. Once you have listed all your expenses, take your total income and subtract all the expenses. If you have money left over, great. If not, revisit your plan and see where you can make cutbacks or changes. List your new goal amount for that expense in the Revised column. This will help you remember where to be more aware of your expenses and areas that need to be reduced. Now let's talk about how to complete the cash flow worksheet. This is a simple cash flow worksheet that we will be using. You may need to expand yours if you have more than one income source or want to be more detailed with your expenses, itemizing each one. In fact, I encourage it. This will help those of you who are working or are paid weekly get paid every other week, and so on. First, where it states income, to the right of that, list how you are paid: weekly, biweekly, bi-monthly. Then, where you see date at the top of the two columns, change that to your next two actual pay dates. List your total net income for the next two paychecks under the date you will be paid. To do this, you'll need to understand the difference between gross and net income. Gross income is your total income without deductions. Net income is gross income less Social Security, other taxes, and any other deductions such as health insurance or retirement. Net income is the amount you actually take home after all the deductions are taken out. Use your average net amount. Do not include overtime if it is not guaranteed. If you're only guaranteed 40 hours a week, use the net amount you would receive from a 40-hour work week. Remember to include all your sources of income that might fit your personal situation. Be sure to consider whether income sources are continuous or might stop in the near future. For example, if you receive unemployment benefits, keep in mind when the benefits will stop. To figure out your monthly income if you work on commission, take your annual income after taxes, divide that by 12, and use that amount. It is important that you have a separate account that you can deposit your checks into and only take out the monthly income amount that you will need. Next, list your monthly expenses under the date or paycheck when the expense will need to be paid. Remember that in each category you have several items. Under housing include rent, mortgage payments, homeowners or renters insurance, property taxes, home improvement. Under transportation, you want to make sure you include car loan or lease payments, gas, parking, bus fare, carpool, car repair, maintenance like oil changes or car insurance. Excuse me. Again, it may be helpful for you to expand your cash flow worksheet to list these items separately, as some of these expenses may have different due dates, such as rent being due on the 1st, but your renter's insurance may be due the middle of the month. As you go through each category, think about your needs versus your wants and how you might control the cost of these expenses. By using your Fritter Finder, you will be able to be more accurate and find areas that you can reduce if necessary to balance your budget. Now, take your net income for your first paycheck. Then, subtract the expenses that are listed under that paycheck that will need to be paid out of that check. You will want to do this for your second paycheck also. Do you have more income than expenses? If so, great. If not, track your spending to see where you can adjust your budget. Decreasing spending increases the amount of money you have left each month. This is also referred to as increasing your cash flow. Besides decreasing spending and obvious ways to increase your income, like getting a second job, there are some options for increasing your income you might not have considered. You might qualify for an Earned Income Tax Credit, or EITC. If you normally receive a tax refund, check to see if changing your deductions would help. You may need to save money from each paycheck to cover the full expense at the due date, like a housing or car payment, dividing it by half of each check. For example, if you're paid every 2 weeks, half out of this check, half out of the next check, just make sure that you're going to be able to pay it by its due date if you do that. Once bills are paid, you can make a check mark to keep you on track that all expenses have been paid. Keep your system simple and something that you will use on a regular basis. If you're paid weekly, I recommend you plan your next 4 paychecks instead of just the next 2 so you can see a full monthly plan. Let's recap. The cash flow worksheet is a snapshot of your monthly expenses. You should expand yours to be more detailed based on your personal incomes and expenses. Track expenses. If you're not already doing so, Remember, it normally isn't a person's rent or utilities that blow their plan. It is normally the miscellaneous expenses that nickel and dime our budgets. So if you've never tracked expenses, then start with one budget category and add another category each month till you track all of your expenses, or you have your set amounts and you're within your spending plan amounts. Ask yourself things like, are you a better spender or saver using cash or debit cards? One of our attendees already said they do better when they use a debit card versus cash. So get to know your spending and saving habits. Putting saving at the top of your budget. It should not be looked at as I want if you have extra to save. You should put it at the top of your budget, period. A previous client of mine shared a success story with me recently, and I want to share it with you guys. 2 years ago, her 13-year-old son asked if she would help him buy a truck when he turned 16. She told him that if he worked and saved, when he turned 16, she would match what he had saved. That very month, she went to a bank that was across town, not close to her work or home, and opened a savings account. And she asked to not have an ATM card issued for the account. She did this purposely so that she would not be tempted to withdraw the money. She set up direct deposit from her paycheck and started putting $25 a paycheck into the account. And now, 2 years later, she was able to do what she had promised because she had saved $1,500 to help her son buy his first truck, which they did last month. She was so excited she had to let me know. The point of that story is save each month, no matter how small the amount. It is better to save $5 a check and put that into savings and leave it there than to try to put $50 a month but have to go around and withdraw it. So start small and think big. I recommend you keep a calendar with your spending plan and cash flow worksheet. Using the calendar to document irregular expenses is a great way to be sure we do not forget to plan for those expenses. School time is also an added expense with school clothes and supplies and fees. You may want to add up what you spent last year and divide that by the months until you'll have to spend it again. Then set a certain amount each month to go into your savings account so you'll have the money when you need it. I would suggest a separate savings account for these type of irregular expenses. Auto tags, registration, and taxes are another good example of these. I'll give you a couple of seconds if you want to share some examples with us of what are your irregular expenses. You're welcome to put those in there now.
Another great idea for that set-aside savings account, if you want to be even more organized, is to set up a ledger so that when you put in this example, it says $230 a month. So you are going to be putting in $50 a month, for example, for clothing. So you have on your ledger, you have clothing, $50, so that you can have a running total of how much in that account is specifically set aside for clothing, for auto repair. So you don't just look at that whole account and say, oh my gosh, I have $1,000 for clothing. No, not necessarily.
No.
So break it out, and so that you know exactly where that money is targeted for.
Great. Yes, exactly. I totally agree. Instead of looking at that thinking you have all of that, you know, if you're using the one same account for the auto tags and for the clothing and say for you know, medications that you have to pay every 3 months instead of every month, and you're setting it over there to the other side, you definitely want to know how much you have set for each allocated expense. So thank you, Jana. I appreciate it. Thank you for reminding me of that. So what happens when it doesn't balance? There's only two ways to resolve this. You can either increase your income or decrease your expenses. Go back to your spending plan and look at ways to cut back on non-essential or less important expenses and prioritize your expenses. This is where it is important to, again, identify needs versus wants. Realize that you will always have unlimited wants with limited resources. Write everything down. You can be amazed at what you are spending and not even realizing it, kind of like on autopilot. So use the Fritter Finder or the rubber band method to help. Look at each of your monthly bills. Can you reduce or eliminate some of the expenses, like reduce internet speed or eliminate cable? Look at utilities. Reduce garbage can size, equal pay, or budget plan for heat. Look at your cell phone plan charges. Use cash versus a debit card or vice versa for small expenses to help yourself set spending limits. Actually, use cash versus debit card for small expenses. There you go, to help yourself set spending limits. Use coupons and plan your meals for the week in advance, even lunches. Make a list and shop only buying what is on your list. Include the whole family in your planning process. Here are some other ideas you can consider when things don't balance. Consider working overtime if you can, or getting a second job, maybe nights, weekends, or seasonal. Just be sure that working that second job is not costing you more money. So look at what gas cost would be, food, you got to pay daycare. Know the dining specials at your favorite restaurants, like 2 for $20 and for couple specials, and try to go on nights when the kids eat free. Try bartering your services. For example, if you have a friend who does hair, ask if they can cut your family's hair if you watch their kids twice a month. Just because you're not spending the money doesn't mean you're not saving the money. If you know you'll need to go shopping for an item, shop around first. Know the best deal. Many times if you buy online, you can get a better deal, and they will normally ship it to the store for free. Here's another example. A coworker of mine needed to get a new cell phone, but she wasn't due for an upgrade yet. The store she wanted to buy from had the phone priced for $100 in-store price, but she saw that the same store had the phone priced at $75 if you bought it online. So she called her local store to see if it was available and in stock. So it was. She then purchased it online and requested to have it shipped to the store for free. 2 hours later, she received a text notice that the phone was ready for pickup at the store. She saved $25 by buying the phone this way versus just driving to the store to buy it. Here are some other practical things to consider also. If you get actual checks, try switching to direct deposit. You'll be less likely to spend money if it goes straight into your account, especially your savings account. Don't use credit to supplement your income. Buy only what you need. Don't buy things just because they are on sale. Plan what you need. Shop around for the best price and plan to make that expense in your spending plan, even if it means you have to save for a few months to purchase it. Try taking your lunch to work instead of eating out. If you spend an average of $8 a day, this would save you about $160 a month. Shop around to get the best deal for big ticket items like cars and appliances, and ask for cash discounts. Be sure you are planning to pay your bills on or before their due dates to avoid late fees. If necessary, call companies to see if the due dates can be changed. Once you have completed your cash flow worksheet, this really lets you see if most of your expenses are due on one check versus being split up. Savings. You will help ensure you can balance your expenses but also plan for long-term assets by putting savings at the top of your budget. Let me explain compound interest by sharing with you 3 examples. Person A begins saving at age 18 and saves $3,000 a year for 5 years. They save a total of $15,000. If person A earns a return of 10% a year, by age 65, the initial investment of $15,000 will have grown to over $1 million. Person B begins saving at age 28 and saves $3,000 a year for 10 years. They saved $30,000. Person B's investment will grow to $758,451 by age 65 based on a 10% return. Person C begins saving at age 38 and saves $3,000 for 28 years. They saved a total of $84,000. Person C's investment grows to $442,893 based on a 10% return. The purpose of these examples is not to make you feel like it's too late. Rather, it's to show you the power of interest to help you grow your money over time. The sooner you start saving, the better. Everyone can save. Again, start small. Start with $5 a paycheck being direct deposited into your savings account. If this is more than you can afford, start saving your change and try using paper money so you can get more change. Save a portion of your next pay increase and have it direct deposited into savings. For emergency savings, I recommend you have this account with a different bank than your primary checking. That way you cannot easily move money to your checking account. I realize that times are tough but I want to share this inspiring story with you to show you truly everyone can save. I spoke with a woman who attended one of our previous classes. She's on a fixed income and has a very tight budget. She said she could not afford to save, but after the class she said she started saving cans. She even asked others to save them for her also. She saved them all year, and last Christmas she cashed them in and received $180 to help her pay for Christmas gifts that she normally couldn't afford. For the first time, she was able to get gifts without overdrawing her bank account or going into debt. Before we finish up, I want to leave you with this. Your spending plan doesn't have to be restrictive. It just has to be real. If you get coffee every day and can afford to do that, great. If you want something more and can no longer afford to do that and get what you want, then you have to decide, what do you want more. A spending plan isn't restrictive, it's empowering. It puts you in control, and it is all about your choices. I would like for you to each write down 4 things that you have learned that you can start doing today to reach your financial goals. I ask that you also share at least one in the comment or question box, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that now. Got one person commenting here saying better budget, thank you. One person saying, excuse me, one person saying I can save a small amount out of each paycheck. The last comment there, someone asked me to repeat it. It says a spending plan is not restrictive. It is empowering. It puts you in control, and it is all about your choices. A couple of other people commenting here saying eat out less. They've learned more effective ways to come up with their budgeting and planning process. Stop writing checks. Put savings into a different account. These are great, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate all these comments.
Thank you for attending today's webinar. Please visit our website for additional tools and resources to help you on your journey. You can also follow us on Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and our Facebook page. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to click on our chat box, and a certified counselor will be able to help you. Thank you, and join us again for another one of Isnt's webinars.